I am so glad to be joined here with the famous Andrei Mincov, the CEO and founder of Trademark Factory, and Jamie O'Neill, one of the Trademark Factory Strategy Advisors. I'm Jason Levinson. I am, as Andrei has named me, the content czar here at Trademark Factory. And the reason we brought this conversation to life really was because Andrei, you wanted people to have a resource to come learn about who we are, what we do, and what the process is. Is that right?
I also talk about, the trademarking process, why, the what, all of the stuff that people are usually curious about. And so just to give people an opportunity to hear it, not just from me, but also from someone else from the team. And I'm hoping that we're going to answer all of everyone's questions and maybe more.
Perfect. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you live, your background, and all that great stuff so people know who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Jamie. I'm a strategy advisor here at Trademark Factory. I live up in Rhode Island in New England. And yeah, as a strategy advisor, I talk to entrepreneurs that come to us that are looking to take that next step to actually legally own their brand through trademarking. So kind of walk people through what that process looks like, see if it makes sense at their stage of the business. And then, yeah, make sure that we can help them take it all the way from that, initial application and search to even see if they can register that name to make sure that they get a fully registered trademark, at the end of that process.
Cool. And was there anything about Jamie's background, Andrei, when he was reaching out that made you think this is going to be a good strategy advisor?
That's a great question. Nobody's asked me that before. So I listened to an interview the first interview that Jamie had with our team members who do the initial round of interviews, and I was very pleasantly surprised with how well Jamie could explain complex subjects to normal people. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs and lawyers, because they speak two completely different languages. Right? Lawyers love to overcomplicate things because it makes them seem smarter, so they can charge their $500 an hour, whereas entrepreneurs want things explained to them as 9-year-olds so that they can actually make an informed decision without feeling guilty that they misunderstood half the things. And so when I listened to Jamie's conversation, how he explained his previous experience, I was like, I'm interested in speaking with this guy. And so we jumped on a second interview. It was a great conversation. And I mean, he had me at hello, but but the thing that finalized the deal is that he says he plays the guitar really well. And so, I'm a drummer. I'm always in need of people putting together some guitar parts. By the way, we just did a Christmas song. Let's see if you haven't watched it yet. Make sure you do. But no, look, in all seriousness, the great thing about Jamie is that if there's one thing that I make a big point of telling new potential team members is that the one quality we're always looking for is that we give a damn. We give a damn about our clients. We give a damn about their brands. We give a damn about their business. And if I don't get the feeling that they will be translating that value to our clients, I don't want you on the team. You could be the best salesman, you could be the best marketing guy, you could be the best programmer, but if I don't see that you will be doing this to make the life better for our clients, you're probably not a good fit. And Jamie ticked that box, right out of the gate.
Yeah, I would agree. Jamie, a question for you. Was there anything about this world of trademarks and the service that Trademark Strategy provides that kind of was exciting or interesting to you?
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny too, because before I found Trademark Factory, I always had like this idea in the back of my head, you need to own a brand. It's kind of dangerous to be out there without actually taking the steps to secure it. But I didn't know anything beyond that. And then I came across Andrei, went through his course explaining, the ins and outs of the complexity of trademarks and why it's important. And then kind of just really realized the value proposition of Trademark Factory, because it can take a year and a half, or longer to secure a trademark. Can go through a lot of hurdles and government rejections, and so knowing that Trademark Factory offers it at a flat rate to handle all those rejections and get fully registered and have a 100% money back guarantee, which is unheard of for any services like this. I just was blown away by what it offered, and I knew I needed to be part of it and help entrepreneurs with this process.
Great. Yeah.
And
The
did
law
you
firm that
join it?
gives you a refund.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Go on, Andrei.
When did you join us, Jamie?
Just about a year ago. Yeah, it was like January or February last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's been a great journey. Like just from that onboarding, learning everything about this process, and then throughout the year, I've talked to so many entrepreneurs. From people that are just starting like an apparel brand, something like that, to someone who's had business maybe 10 years. They've had a roofing company or something like that. They're doing great, but they've never taken this step. And as you say, it's like driving around without having your car registered. You're like, what are you doing? You don't own your brand. Someone can scoop it up. So
Yeah.
I'm glad when I can explain this and help people protect their hard work.
Why don't you actually do that right now a little bit and tell us, like for a viewer who's never gotten a trademark, maybe they are that person who's had a business for a few years or 10 years. Why would you say that it is important for a business to consider trademarking their brand, their logo, those things?
Yeah, I mean, to put it simply, the trademark is the only way to legally own the brand. So it doesn't matter if you've had your LLC for a decade or two, or have the website, that URL that matches the brand. The only way to own it is to register it with the federal government. So by doing so, you're going to protect yourself. One, there's a lot of copycats and bad actors out there. So if you want to have that legal authority to get them taken down, then you're going to need to have the trademark. And also, it's going to protect people from potentially having to rebrand. Like, say, if someone else applies for that trademark before you, they're going to have that legal authority now. So they'll push you out of the brand, and all of your merchandise or your hard work and reputation under that name is now going to have to, be washed away, and you're going to have to change it. So those are some of the main reasons that I'd recommend it for entrepreneurs.
I want to add to that. So when they came up with trademark laws that allow you to go and register your trademark, really that didn't always exist. It only started with industrialization, when there were so many more businesses popping up, and the government wanted to give people, the companies, an easier tool to protect their brand. And the assumption behind that was, if you didn't go and register your brand as a trademark, it meant that you're sending the message to the marketplace that you don't really care all that much about your brand. Because if you did, there was an easy tool for you to use. So if you were to go to court and say, hey, this is my brand, that would be the first question they would ask. Like, did you do this? And if you said, well, no, I didn't, you'd have very hard time explaining how come you say you care about the brand, but you didn't take this one simple step that the government gave you to just go and fill out a simple application and get this stuff done.
Yeah.
Great point. Question for both of you is like, what have you found in your experience are the common misconceptions that people have when it comes to trademarks?
Let's do top 10.
yeah, there's quite a few.
Jamie, why don't you share? You mentioned the LLC thing. What else?
Yeah, I mean, one that came up very recently, someone was asking me, hey, if I just mail myself a letter that says that I started this business. It gets a, timestamp from the post office. Isn't that good enough? And that is simply not going to hold up in, in federal court if you really need to defend the trademark. Maybe Andrei can speak a little more to that example.
Yeah, so this is usually refers to as a poor man's copyright. When
Yeah.
you write, put whatever work you wrote, seal it in an envelope, you send it yourself, you don't open, and that's supposed to prove the fact that on this date, this letter was mailed. Well, first of all, it's almost impossible to prove that you haven't opened it and then resealed it again. And second of all, it might be helpful for copyright, but gives you exactly zero value for trademarking, because unlike copyright that exists whether or not you register something, trademarks, they don't, right? You have to have a legally recognized right to stop others from using the brand similar to yours. And really, that's something I always say, that without trademark registration, it's not just that you don't own your brand, and that's true, you don't. What you have is really not a brand. It might be a word, an image, or a phrase that you want to be your brand, but it only becomes your brand when you can legally stop your competitors from using similar identifiers, whether, again, it's a name, logo, or tagline, in their business to sell their stuff to compete with you. If they can easily use the same name as you do, what kind of brand is that? It's not a brand. It's nothing. Yeah. So you can send yourself a million letters. It's not going to help it's not going to help you in court if you see a competitor who steals your brand and goes after you to compete with under your own brand. So
what about talk to me a little bit about like social media handles, Jamie. Do you ever talk to anybody that thinks that's going to be good enough for a trademark?
Yeah, that can come up as well. And again, it's the same issue. Like, if you want to own that brand, you need to get that application into the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO, secure that date that it's filed. And also, another misconception is that people think they apply for a trademark and it's just going to give them ownership across the entire economy and every type of good or service, but definitely not the case. So the government kind of has this complex system of 45 different classifications that you need to fit into. So it's going to give you monopoly over your brand in that specific industry. So that's another thing that definitely comes up on frequently on our calls and with new entrepreneurs come to Trademark Factory.
Yeah, I'll throw in domain names. Really, two things about them. First of all, a lot of people think that getting a trademark takes about as long as getting a domain name, which is like not very long. Like with domain name, you pay $20, you get a domain name. With trademarks, the whole thing takes over a year. But the other one is that some people say, well, I got a domain name. That's all I need to protect my brand, because nobody can register that domain name as long as I do. I have it registered. And my answer to that is always, if this was true, why do you think Google and Facebook, after they registered their domain names, why did they go through the trouble of registering their brands as trademarks? I mean, they're not idiots. They knew that nobody could get their domain names once they registered their domain names. There must have been something going through their brains where they're like, let's go out and trademark those brands too. And really the reason is that a domain name and trademark registration are two completely different things. Yeah, with a domain name, nobody's going to steal your domain name as long as you pay on time. But you can't even imagine the stuff that bad actors can do to your brand, even if you have the domain name, but you don't own that trademark.
That's actually a good transition, because I want to hear from you both about risk. This is something that I think anybody watching this video really should understand, because there are risks associated with doing business under a mark for which you don't have ownership. And can you all share some of those risks? Andrei, you want to start with that one?
Sure. Well, the risks, there are several. First of all, someone else can trademark your brand and then send you a demand letter demanding you to rebrand. or pay them some money. And in some cases, you may legally be able to prevail. But because you're going to say, well, hey, hang on a second. We were doing this for 20 years before you came and registered this trademark. We're known all across the United States. We're selling billions of dollars worth of stuff. But guess what it's going to mean? It means that you're going to have to go to court. You're going to have to hire lawyers. You're going to have to sue those people who's trademarked the brand. And it's going to take you time, money, and it's going to take away your focus from building a business. So, and that's in the best case scenario when you actually win. The worst case scenario, after all this money gets spent, you don't win. And we're actually going to put together a series of videos soon when people try to rely on what's called common law trademarks, which is when you don't register a trademark, but say, well, we've been known enough to enough people to for the courts to recognize this right. And oftentimes courts say, nope, it's not good enough. Yeah, you may have had some sales, but it's not wide enough for us to say that you own a common law trademark. So they said you don't own nothing. And so that's big risk. When someone goes, and trademarks your brand and tries to squeeze you out of your own brand. The other risk is that your competitors are just going to adopt a similar brand. They're going to copycat you, and they're going to start selling their products. And so people who think they're buying from you, they're going to be buying from them. And if you don't have a registered trademark, it's going to be a lot harder for you to do anything about it. Because when you have a registered trademark, you send them a demand letter, your lawyers send them a demand letter. They open their letter. First thing they're going to do is they're going to check, did you trademark the brand? And if the answer to that is yes, then their lawyers are going to tell them, they're going to nail you. You should probably stop doing this. And if they check and the trademark is not registered, what their lawyer is going to tell them, look, they didn't bother to spend a few $1,000s to trademark this brand. They're definitely not going to spend tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers to sue you, because why would they? This doesn't make any sense, right? And so they're probably going to ignore that letter. And so there's another risk. Another risk is so when someone copies your brand and sells their products and services on others, sometimes they will be selling inferior products and inferior services. And that can ruin your reputation like nothing else, because it happens all the time when people get bad reviews on Google about a service that they didn't even provide. Because someone else provided that service under their brand or something similar. And so you get all this garbage and you can't do anything about it. You can't shut them down because, again, you don't have an enforceable right to stop them. And one last one, and I don't know if I'm stealing all of these risks from you, Jamie. You might be able to add something after that. So the last one I'm going to say is that if you hope to ever get investors, if you hope to ever get someone to buy a business from you, maybe franchise the business or license this, first thing they're going to do is do what's called a due diligence report. When a bunch of lawyers are going to look at everything, lawyers and accountants are going to look at everything about your business, what works, what doesn't, and there will be a section there about intellectual property. And they will want to know what's secured, what's not secured, what's done well, what's not done well, and where are the risks. And so if all your section says they got nothing, then the potential buyers are going to say, oh, it means it's a risk for us. We'll still buy you, which is going to give you 10 times less money.
Right.
So that's a risk.
Yeah, nobody likes that idea. Jamie, what other risks have you encountered?
Yeah, well, a lot of them line up with what Andrei said there, and there's specific examples. I've talked to people that come to us, and some of the most difficult conversations is, people have been building this brand for many years. They love it. The brand maybe is attached to, named after their family or something. It's really close to them, but they didn't take that step to trademark, whether they didn't realize how important it was, or they just, said tomorrow, and then forgot about it. But then We speak to them. They come to us. They said, "Hey, I got this cease and desist letter. What's that?" It says I need to stop using this brand, and it turns out someone else has already trademarked their name, or even just something similar, which can still be a reason for losing your brand. And so we have to tell them, I'm sorry, but this has to change. You're going to have to rebrand. So it is a really important step. It's not just something that happens to 1 in a million people. It happens to a lot of brand owners every day. So yeah, as soon as you have a brand that you're passionate about, it has momentum, and you want to make sure you don't lose it, then that's the time you need to get trademarked.
I would add that if you're watching this now and you do have a business and this is the first you're hearing about the importance of trademarking, maybe it's a sign.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a sign to, to push on the gas and get it done. I would also add an anecdote or a piece of evidence that I've encountered in our time here working together with Trademark Factory, and
Because you have taken a few calls yourself, right?
yeah, I wanted to learn everything, so I got to do Jamie's job a little bit, and I do. One of the clients that I was able to help had a business for over 20 years, and a competitor didn't try to steal his business name, just named one of their products his business name and trademarked it, and basically now we're going through a rebranding process, and we're advising him on how to rebrand and helping him pick brand names after 20 years of doing business under a name that somebody else now owns. And it's a sad thing, but it's like you got to put on your big boy pants and take care of business. And it either means you take care of business and get a trademark, or you take care of business and you rebrand if this happens.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. You have to imagine, like, if you wake up tomorrow, say you have a brand, if you're listening out there, and like you have this brand, you wake up tomorrow and get cease and desist letter saying you need to change your brand name. Like, is that going to be easy to do, or is that going to be devastating? And if it's devastating, then you need to get that trademark in motion ASAP.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people have this misconception, really, that trademarking services is just a bunch of fear mongers who make up horror stories about the stuff that happens. Apparently, it happens to everybody, but them. But it's like fires. Everyone thinks that fires only happen with other people until it happens to them, and then what? Really, with fires, what I always like to say is, what's the first thing people are going to ask you if your house burns down? Do you have fire insurance? Imagine if your answer to that is no.
Yeah.
And really, that's the same thing with brands, because if someone steals your brand and you're out there panicking and trying to figure out what you can do about this right now, and I don't know, you go to someone to get advice, that's going to be the first question. Did you have it trademarked? And imagine if your answer to that is no, because at that point, usually everyone's going to just start, looking down and said, well, I'm sorry you have to go through this.
Yeah.
Because there's really very little that can be done.
I would just offer that if the answer is no, and the question that follows up is why not, it can't, if you're watching this, it can't be because I didn't know. Because you're learning now that you need it. Okay, Jamie, question for you about the process, because a lot of people don't know. So imagine, I don't know anything about trademarking at all. And what is the step-by-step process? Like, what do I have to do as a business owner? What is the government doing? What should I expect?
Yeah. So the process obviously begins once you have your brand name or your logo or slogan picked out that you want to legally own. And then once you come to us, our first step is doing a comprehensive search. So that's just looking at everything that's already registered or pending, and making sure it makes sense to actually send that application in, because if it's already taken or too close to something else, then it's just going to get rejected. So it's not worth the time. But yeah, first step is doing a search, make sure it's safe to move forward. And then from there, we drafted the application, send it into the government. Usually we can get that done quite fast, maybe, within a week sometimes. And then as soon as it's filed, that's when you're safe to really start marketing and putting your brand out there without too much worry, because the government is going to track down to the minute when they get those applications. And so even if someone tries to get a similar trademark after you, the government's going to recognize you're first in line. And so, you're safe to start really putting it out there. It does take about 12 to 15 months. Depends on the country too, but US timeline's about year and a half. Canada, it's approaching 4 years. That's a different story, but it's a lengthy process, just to put it simply. So you want to do that due diligence at the beginning with the search, get filed, and then it's going to pass through the government office. That's when it's going to get reviewed, and most applications do get rejections from the office. They're called office actions, and that can be quite simple to very complex. But typically, if your brand is confusingly similar to something else, the government wants to see more evidence that you're actually using the brand as you said you would. That's when all that's going to occur. There's a lot of back and forth with the government office, and with traditional trademarking law firms and routes, that's where it can get really expensive. And I think maybe Andrei, you could speak to it, but that's kind of why you set up Trademark Factory, right, to offer a flat rate for this very complicated step of the process.
Yeah, because there's a lot of uncertainty around the process, because no matter who files this trademark on this end, there's going to be a human being on the other end reviewing your trademark application, and they all have different qualifications. Sometimes they flag things that shouldn't be flagged. So even if you think you have the most perfect trademark application out there, it can still get rejected. And it happens all the time. As you said, 68% of trademark applications get flagged, and 81% of trademark applications that are filed without an attorney get flagged. So 4 out of 5 get flagged, and then you have to find the attorney to fight this, which is crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And which is why I was like, entrepreneurs, they deserve better. They deserve to not be bogged down into all this legal BS where they have to figure out, how do I respond to this office action, right? Because when they trust a company to help them with getting their brand trademarked, all they care about is one simple thing. Did it get registered or did it not get registered? It's binary. Yeah. Right. And you can't really explain, hey, we have better lawyers that do this than this other law firm. Because you can't measure the quality of the legal service, but you can measure results. And that's the idea on which I built Trademark Factory, which is the guaranteed result. And the name really of factory comes from when you go to a factory and you order 5 gadgets, you don't care how long it takes them to make them, how hard their workers are going to work. All you care about, did they give you the 5 gadgets or not, right? Same thing here. So the guaranteed result for a guaranteed budget. I want to kind of roll this back for a second when you said takes about a week for us to file. A lot of this depends on how cooperative the brand owner is, because
True. Yeah.
We have clients, we file their trademark on the next day. Like we did a search, we give it to them, they know exactly what they're filing, they're ready to pay the government fees, they're ready to provide evidence of use. Their trademark application goes out, very quickly. If it takes the client a couple of days to get back to us when we need some feedback from them, then yes, it's going to take a week. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes they're like, oh, there's government fees. I'm like, yeah, we told you about government fees. It's like, oh, I didn't realize there's government fees. Well, yes, there are government fees. Oh, I didn't realize you have to pay government fees for each class of goods and services. I don't have that kind of money. We're like, dude, this is the brand. You're going to have to pay the government fees anyway. You have to, if you want to protect your brand, let's get those government fees out the door. Let's file your trademark so you can safely start promoting this brand without the fear that someone's going to steal it from you. So, but this back and forth sometimes takes a long time. And that's why kind of the average is a week, but we're trying to, and really what I found is that the success rate of trademarking process largely depends on how much the brand owner understands the trademarking process. Like, we don't need them to be trademark attorneys. We don't need them to know all the details. But if you deliberately refuse to know anything and just assume that, I own the brand, that's it, usually it's not going to work, because you need to know something. And that's really one of the big reasons why I wanted to be on this video, to kind of give some context for entrepreneurs out there, so that when they do decide that, hey, now is the time for me to trademark my brand, they have the context to have to improve the chances of their trademark going through.
Jamie, question for you about some of the stuff Andrei was just saying. So he mentioned classes, he mentioned government fees, he mentioned multiple classes. There's also multiple countries. Can you just clarify for everybody what the heck we're talking about?
I would love to. Yeah. Again, when I first encountered the world of trademarking, I was like, what is this? But it can be simple when you look at it. So there's something called the NICE classification system. It's called the NICE classification system. It's an international system of trademarking. So they have 45 classifications, just every trademarking government around the world agreed on. So any type of good or service that someone can offer under a brand is going to fit into one of the 45 different classifications they have. And so, you have classes 1 through 34 are different types of goods, anything from, paints and chemicals to foods to games, toys. And then the classes 35 through 45 are different services. So like real estate services, financial services, anything like that. And so when you're registering your trademark, you're going to figure out which class or classes, sometimes you're in multiple classes, that you need to get registered in to have your monopoly in those areas. That's something that Trademark Factory does completely for folks. So, when you sign up, you just give us a list of goods and services you have in mind. Then we figure out those exact government classes you're going to need. And we'll give a prioritized list of which classes you need. And then you can ultimately make the final decision. You might say, maybe you're selling like T-shirts and you have like a food stand, and you also sell some pins or something, but it's not a big priority. So you might not pursue that class, but it is, it's in the US, it's $350 per class right now. That might go up in the near future, but that's currently what the government charges. It varies slightly. Each country has its own scheme for classes for those government fees. And also to touch on the different countries. So unfortunately, there's no real universal way to get your trademark registered. You have to go country by country where you want to market it and really push your brand. So we typically say start with your home country, and then expand to countries where you expect to do about 30K in revenue in the near future, or if you really have your sights set on releasing your brand in that country.
I want to add a little bit. So go back to classes. Like our prices don't change whether you file in one class or 45 classes. So we have zero incentive to kind of upsell you on securing more goods and services in your trademark application. Really, it's more work to us, if nothing else. So when our team says, we think you should be trademarking here, here, and here, and there, really, as you said, it's up to the brand owner to say, yeah, I don't want this, I don't need this. But the way a lot of companies out there actually will charge you more if you go with more classes, because, well, it's more work for them. But and then I understand the skepticism of entrepreneurs, like, are they adding this just to charge me more, or do I really need this? So I wanted to create an experience where entrepreneurs don't have to worry about this, because if we tell them we think 3 classes is what you need, it's not because we're going to get paid more, but because we think you need 3 classes. And if you want to go with 2 or 1, well, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If anything, actually, it's going to reduce our profit margin because we're going to have to do more work to get those extra classes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
And also just to add on that, we touched on earlier in the call, but just to reiterate, like getting a trademark gives you monopoly over your brand, but it's going to be specific to the class of goods or service you tell the government you're selling in.
Yeah.
So an example.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, like a good example that most people are familiar with, there's Dove chocolate, but there's also Dove shampoo. And these are totally different businesses and brands, but they're allowed to coexist with that name because they're in different classes.
Yeah, because the assumption is nobody who buys chocolate would assume that they're buying it from the same company that makes shampoo, and the other way.
Yeah, we would hope.
So Trademark Factory, we've been around for over 10 years. I think over all these years, we may have had 1 or 2 clients who wanted to go for the full 45 classes. And we told them, like, you don't need 45 classes. This is ridiculous. You're going to pay tremendous amount of money in government fees, and most of it is probably going to be wasted. Like I said, we had 2 clients, I think, that we couldn't convince that they really didn't need to. And to me, it's usually the sign that, they have a lot of money, but they're not being very serious about their understanding of what brand is for, what it's about. And lo and behold, so they filed that trademark for, got their 45 classes in the application.
Wow.
And by the time the government says yes, they're like, yeah, we actually don't need this trademark anymore. And like, this is like the dumbest way to waste money. Like, seriously, like, imagine 350 times 45. Like, that's a lot of money. You could have bought a lot of Facebook ads with that, or you could have gone to Disneyland with your children or something.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Let's also talk about the ongoing costs of having a trademark, because you don't just get it and then you have it, until you die. There's some stipulations and also some additional fees in the future, correct, Jamie?
Yeah, so the main thing that you want to keep in mind is you have to renew it once every 10 years. So you need to let the government know you're still using this brand, still selling with it. Otherwise, it's going to die and it's going to be open for someone else to get it registered. And then in some countries, specifically in the US, between years 5 and 6, after you have gotten that fully registered, you do need to provide the government with evidence of use. So again, they just want to make sure you're still using that trademark as you said you are. But the fees, they're not nearly as much as when you're first getting started, because it's much more intensive process. But essentially, it's just paying those government classes again once you come to that 10-year mark. And then one other fee would be, say you get started, you haven't launched the brand yet, but you're maybe a month or 2 away from it. It's it's coming soon, so you can do what's called an intent to use application. And by doing that, you can make sure you're first in line for that brand. And then in the coming months, once you do start selling it, you'll have what's called the evidence of use. And there's a $100 government fee to mail in that evidence, just to again show that you're actually using the brand. And it does vary country to country. Like that's in US, Canada, you actually that's not even required.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add, well, actually 2 things I want to add. One is that trademarks are the only type of intellectual property that can, in theory, last forever. Patents expire and copyrights expire. Trademarks, in theory, they don't. As long as you keep renewing, as Jamie said, every 10 years, you can renew and renew and renew and renew and renew. Coca-Cola has been renewing that same trademark they filed back in 1892. Right? They still own. Now the brand is worth $80 billion. They're renewing the trademark they filed in 19. Right? And that's the beauty of of trademarks. That's the legacy of trademarks. And the other thing I wanted to mention, almost like an anecdote, so when we say, yeah, no, you have to pay for the classes, you have to pay for the classes. And we had a couple of clients, I don't know, and this goes back to, understanding trademarking and having context around it. We had a few clients will file their trademark, and then we get their email saying, so when do you guys plan to conduct the class? Like, what do you mean? Well, I was promised 3 classes. So
Yeah.
when do I go to my first? Like, no, that's not those classes that we mean. Like, it's a classification, but it all, like we always have a little giggle when we remember that those emails, like, so when are you guys gonna conduct your first class? You don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. Yeah. Is it online? Is it how many hours?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definition of terms, very important. That's great.
Mhm.
Okay, well, before we move to the next series of questions, which is going to be about the different ways that one could go about obtaining a trademark, can we just, Jamie, you had an experience with a client kind of recently. I think it was you, where they were doing business in the US, but they were in conversations with a manufacturer in China. And do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so that is a common occurrence that can happen. So yeah, say someone is operating in the US, but they get their goods or services, well, not services, but they get their goods created in China. Sometimes it is an important step to take to get the trademark in China as well, because that can lead to complications if, God forbid, there's a malicious actor in China that goes ahead and trademarks your brand over there. They can actually prevent the export of your goods from coming to the US. So that can happen, especially people that are doing maybe apparel or have other goods that they're manufacturing in China. It's an important step to take there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it's a true story. Like, there's someone who reached out to us. They ordered a bunch of bikes in China. The factory made those bikes, put the brand on those bikes, put them in a container, and so the entrepreneur who paid for all that is sitting in Texas waiting, and then he gets a letter that someone in China trademarked that, and he can't get that container because that would amount to trademark infringement of their trademark in China. Like,
Wow.
imagine, like there's really no good outcome from here. Do you just say, keep the bikes, right? Or do you say, let's open the container, let's remove the shields from those bikes, let's rebrand all that stuff, put them back in. Like, do you pay off the people who trade? Like, there's really no good way of handling this, except for, getting in your time machine and going back in time to trademark the brand before somebody else did.
Yeah. And sadly, I don't think that the time machine exists yet, but maybe it will
No.
by the time people are watching this. I want to also, there's one more fee that sometimes entrepreneurs pay that could be part of their trademark package with us or with other companies, and it has to do with monitoring their trademark. It's not something that we focus heavily on, but can you talk about that? Andrei, you want to share what that is and what that even means?
Yeah, sure. So there are a lot of trademarks being filed every year. So in Canada, they file about 70,000 trademarks a year. In the US, they file about 700,000 trademarks every year. And in China, they file about 7 million trademarks every year now, which is insane. And so when you have your trademark, when you have your brand, you also want to know what the rest of the world is doing. Is someone trying to file a trademark that's similar to yours? Is someone trying to encroach on your monopoly? Is someone trying to do something stupid? Is someone trying to do something that the trademarks office might allow if you don't step up and raise your hand and say, this is mine? We're actually having someone who wanted to Trademark Factory in the US. And so they filed it for a bunch of different classes. And the trademarks office said, no, you have to, narrow it down to something that doesn't conflict with our trademark. And so they left apparel. And we've been, distributing Trademark Factory apparel for a long time, like on events and things like that. And we're like, I'm not going to take it. So we opposed their mark, and now it's about to be rejected for them. Like literally, as we're recording this, their deadline to file their response to our opposition was 3 days ago, and so they didn't file it. But the only way we found out about it, the only way we knew that, hey, there's a similar trademark application, is because we run this monitoring service. When we can tell, we get the information every week, and it says, well, for this trademark that you filed, somebody filed a similar trademark like this, and a human on our end checks it and says, yeah, it's really not a problem because it's too far away. But for this one, it's a problem. And so we go back to our client and say, so look at this. So you have a trademark, that's your trademark that we did for you, but someone else is trying to get this trademark for those goods and services. Do you think that's a problem? If the client says, yeah, that's a problem, then really there's two things we can do. One, we can wait until the trademarks office kicks it out, because they might see it first. And if the trademark office does their job, then that's it. But if the trademark office approves it, then it allows the client to, again, raise their hand and oppose. So the monitoring process is very important if you are in a competitive industry, or if you're thinking of maybe expanding your brand, or if you're thinking that someone registering a similar trademark to yours could be a big problem. So yeah, we offer it as a subscription. You can request it from us, and we'll have you figure that out. I don't typically recommend the monitoring service until we've told you that the brand that you got is registrable, because at that point, like, if you can't file your trademark, if you can't get your trademark, what's the point of monitoring similar brands? Right, it's just for educational purposes only. But if you know that this is going to be your brand for the years to come, it's a good investment.
Speaking of this is kind of a good segue into talking about the many options that a business owner has when it comes to trademarking their brand, because obviously they can trademark it with Trademark Factory, which I would guess we think is a good idea. They could also just try to do it on their own. There's other services out there. Jamie, do you want to just break down like what those paths look like for a business owner?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there is self-filing, so some people do try to do it on their own. I would strongly not recommend that, because the success rate's only about 15% for people that try to get a trademark on their own, since, again, it is a really long and complicated process. There are online filing services that they kind of tempt people with, they offer their filing fee, but you have to keep in mind that's all it is. It's the filing. That's the first step. Once it enters the office, there's often a lot of complications and office actions. And so you might be getting more bills along that way for attorney hours to deal with those rejections. So I also probably wouldn't recommend that, because in the long run, it can end up being many, many thousands. I've talked to people that have paid anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 that they thought they started for maybe $200, and then it turned into a long and sad trip. And then another option is law firms. They often can get it done, but again, with the office actions, it's kind of writing a blank check for those law firms. So once those complications come in, hey, this might take us 6 hours, so here's your bill for $2,000. Oh, we need another 2,000 for this office action. So that can be a very costly road as well. And so that's where, honestly, I think Trademark Factory does have the best option in this space, since it is reasonably priced with a flat fee, with unlimited attorney hours, and there's 100% money back guarantee. So it's guaranteed you get fully registered, or you get your money back. So that's something I love about Trademark Factories. We're with those entrepreneurs the entire way through that process. And so, because other companies might abandon them halfway. So yeah, that's why Trademark Factory makes sense for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Andrei, before you chime in, Jamie, can you share just an example or two of clients you've worked with who've kind of started on a different path and then ended up coming to us?
Oh yeah, just one, maybe probably about 2 weeks ago, I was speaking with a guy down in Texas. He started an apparel brand, or was trying to, and he started for about $200. He said with a competitor, and he said he was about 3 years into the process. So just all of this back and forth delays. He ended up paying, I think, $4,000 or maybe even $5,000 in fees for their attorneys to handle the office actions that kept coming up. And at the end of it, he just kind of threw his hands up, and that's when he came across us and explained his situation. So I was really glad he came across us, so we can actually get it done right the first time for him. But
So
yeah,
in
it
his
happens.
case, let me just clarify. So in his case, he went through all that and still didn't get a trademark.
Exactly. Yep.
Got it.
No trademark.
No trademark.
Just
Any other examples? Do you have anybody that started on their own and then came to us?
yeah, I've had some of them as well. They typically, it's when they get those office actions, maybe 9 months into the process after filing. They get this long legal document from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office saying, "What can I do with this? Can you guys help me?" And so I'll take a look at it, discuss it with our legal team, and unfortunately, sometimes it's just a flat out no from our team. They say, this is not going to get registered. They missed this box. They did not fill out the form right. They're in the wrong class. So there's a million mistakes. And so our advice is we just need to go back to step one and file it correctly, because in its current state, it is not going to get registered, since it's a tough office to get through. Yeah.
So just about that, then, what that person then maybe didn't waste a ton of money, but they wasted a lot of time, and also they endured 9 months of worry, stress, not knowing what's going on, only to find out when they came to our team, this was never. We could have told you in 48 hours this was not going to go through. Andrei,
Yeah.
why don't you talk about that and anything else that you think we should know?
Yeah, so if I look distracted, it's because I was running a little search on USPTO's database. There's this amazing example about responses to office actions. So Elon Musk, in 20 something, formed this company called the Boring Company, and they offer boring services, which I think is a genius name.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to trademark that, and they got an office action saying that's merely descriptive, and they said no because it has a double meaning, boring and boring. And they first responded to an office action with something pretty short. The trademarks office says no, and then they submitted a second response. And I'm just trying to calculate the number of pages. So there's a bunch of documents here. One is 5 pages, the other one is 2 pages, and 84 pages, 52 pages, 2 pages, right? There's a lot of stuff that law firm wrote in order to convince the trademark examiner that the trademark should be approved on the principal register rather than on supplemental register, because it wasn't descriptive. So can you imagine how much Elon Musk paid that law firm in fees to put together all those documents. It must have been a lot of freaking money. It's well into five figures. Well into five figures. Probably not into six, but well into five. And that's the danger when you're dealing with law firms, because yeah, they have great talent that can produce these documents. And by the way, the trademarks office did agree with the lawyers on their position here in the end of the day. So they can do that, but it costs the client so much money that, well, Elon could do that. He had deep enough pockets to do that even then. But imagine you are like normal entrepreneur, like you don't have an extra few $1,000,000 sitting in the bank that you're ready to splurge on lawyers. And the law firm that you're using tells you, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry, we're going to respond to this office action. We know how to do this. We have all the books. We have all this knowledge. We know the case law that we can show to the trademark examiner that will prove the point. And you go like, sure, go ahead. And they write this 200-page document and they send you the bill. Like, what do you do then? Right? That's the danger of like the problem with trademarks, or the problem with using law firms for trademarks is not that they're expensive, is that they're unpredictably expensive. You have no idea. Sometimes you can get away with paying them, I don't know, maybe a couple of grand, and sometimes you're going to end up paying them 20. And there's no way to know this in advance. That's why I wanted to come up with a solution that will make sense to business owners. Because we tell you exactly how much the whole thing is going to cost from start to finish. And if you say, well, my brand, protecting my brand is worth paying this amount of money, it makes it a very simple decision on your end, because you know that no matter what happens in the middle, you're not going to pay a penny more.
So. That's right. I want to say something about lawyers, because I think that there's actually two things to think about with lawyers, and you guys tell me what you think. But I know a friend of mine who is a lawyer, and he's a very good lawyer, and I see why someone would go to him for whatever legal needs they have, because he's trustworthy. You know, he's an honest guy. He's going to work hard for you. The problem is he's not a trademark attorney. So when he had two different customers he told me about. One had a very simple trademark, it turns out, and they got lucky, and it only cost that client, you know, a little less than $3,000 of his services, right? Well, he had another one that was complicated, and it was a logo, and it was an image that was similar to something else, and it was in an industry that was a little harder. And next thing you know, for him, he said that was $20,000 paycheck to me for them to get that trademark.
We use the same numbers, but completely unrelated stories. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But that's the other thought I had, and maybe you guys can say something about it. It's like the difference between just using general counsel or just the law firm that's helping your startup out with other things to also do your trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any thoughts on that, you guys? Or
well, I just think, oh, go ahead, Andrei. I was just going to say, like, at the end of the day, you know, if you're listening to this or building a brand, you're an entrepreneur, your focus really should be on providing the best goods and services that you can for your customers out there. And you don't really, I would think you don't want to become a trademark attorney and have to worry about how much is this going to cost me in the long run? Is this going to get rejected? Like, you know, that's something I love about Trademark Factory is it's basically hands off for you. Once we get you filed, you can focus and build that brand, and then, you know, we'll a couple months, a year and a half, we'll let you know, hey, you're fully registered. Here's your, you know, your diploma. We'll send that through, and so you're good to go and keep working on your business.
And we provide updates along the way, right, Jamie? Like it's not like a year from now you'll hear from us.
Oh yeah, no, we're very hands-on. Like you know, you get a client cabinet login. That's something else that's great. Like you go into our website, we have a dedicated space where you're going to see the progress on the, you know, the initial search and then the application. if there are any bumps in the road, like you're going to see it right in that client cabinet. We have live chat in there, so you can speak directly with our legal team, set up consultation calls. So yeah, we're definitely always there for our clients, but our goal is to simplify this very complicated process for you.
I wanted to chime in with something. Like, I don't want to create an impression that we hate lawyers. Like, I don't hate lawyers. I was a lawyer most of my life. Like, we use lawyers all the time to help our clients. Like, we file trademarks through attorneys because we have to. But what I do hate is the model that most law firms use, the traditional law firms, is because their model relies on them making more money the more problems your trademark application encounters. This is silly, right? Because for them, a straightforward trademark application that goes from filing to registration with no friction, they barely make any money. And so when they start making money is when they have to fix the application that they filed for you. And if their margins, if their profits really depend on them not necessarily doing a perfect job at the top, there's no financial incentive for them to not, right? And I think that by definition, it puts their interests and your interests on two different sides. With us, it's the opposite, because we have good margins only for straightforward trademark applications, because we charge a flat fee. And so we want your trademark to go through as quickly as possible with as little problems as possible. And guess what? That's exactly what you want too. Like, as an entrepreneur, you want your trademark to go through as quickly as possible with as little problems as possible. So that puts us in the same boat as you, because when your trademark has problems, well, I'm paying for those problems. And trust me, I don't like doing that, because, we want to be a profitable company. We want to make sure that, we grow and we have more entrepreneurs out there. And so we do whatever it takes to make this process as problem-free as humanly possible. And that's the reason we have the 99.3% rate of success, because we want the trademark to go through and we want to file it right for the first time.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I know one of the things that we do that's different than some of the other paths is our search. And Jamie, could you just explain for someone, like, kind of get in the weeds a little bit about what it is that we do and how it works for the entrepreneur?
Yeah, so when someone signs up, it's called a comprehensive search. So it's a very in-depth search where our legal team usually takes about 2 to 3 business days, and they use different software and tools to look at every existing trademark or pending trademark. They're looking for things that look the same, sound the same, that might be reasons for rejection or confusion with the government office. And so that's a crucial step if you're going to start a trademark, because it's a long road and you don't want to file that if it's just going to get shot down at the end. So we do that search, and it's a good way to get peace of mind and know you're on the right track, like this is a brand that you can own, or if it needs any modification. So sometimes it can be rejected if it's too confusingly similar to some brand that already exists, or maybe it's just a generic term or too descriptive. It's too basic. Trademark office really likes things that are more distinct and really stand out. And so, yeah, it's a good step to take at the beginning. And a great thing that Trademark Factory does is we'll work with entrepreneurs. So if we do our initial search and find out, hey, we don't think this can get registered, we make it pretty simple. You can either just get a full refund, or we'll tell you, what modification is needed, because maybe it's just as simple as changing a couple letters or adding another word. Maybe we'll, work on some logo designs. Like we'll bounce some ideas off with you and figure out how to move forward with the best chance of success.
Andrei, can you share with everybody the difference between like the search that we do and the search that I see like on ads for like within 10 minutes, file your trademark.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. So what they use, what's called the knockout search, typically looks at only registered trademarks and identical ones. So the information you're getting is pretty much meaningless because trademarking is not about avoiding identical copying. It's about not being confusingly similar to other brands. And so my favorite way to test those searches is to search for micro-soft software solutions. So I search for that, and if the system tells me, yeah, it's available, just pay us a little bit of money, we're going to file it for you in the US, in Canada, Europe, I'm like, great. That's really high quality search because I know that it's going to be what, maybe a few hours before Microsoft's lawyers are going to send me a note. Right, but that's how those searches work. They work almost like domain names, right? Oh, this domain, nobody bought this domain name, so or oh, this domain is taken. Do you want to add a 3 at the end or whatever, 69 or some other weird character or number? Oh, suddenly it's available, but that's not how trademarks work. You can't misspell and assume that, like, you can't misspell Microsoft and expect that now you can start a company with that brand in the software space. But that's what those cheap or usually free trademark search engines make you believe. Because guess what? Their model is for you to run a search, assume that everything is doable, and then you just take your money, file your trademark, because that's where their responsibility ends. They file your trademark, now you're on your own. Right. Funny enough, a few years ago, and we might make a separate video about this. A couple of years ago, because I'm all about optimizing processes. I love systems, I love algorithms, and I'm like, why do our trademark searches take so freaking long? Like it take, as Jamie said, a few days. And I am getting really hard on the guy who runs our trademark search department. I'm like, dude, like, why? Why does it take so freaking long? And so, well, I do this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, you do all this and this and this, but it still shouldn't take all that long. I said, can you record me a video of how you do a normal search? And he said, sure. And so he sent me that video. He spent literally about an hour and a half just doing the search for one trademark. And it's just constant searching. Different, as Jamie said, different words, different variations, synonyms, different languages, lookalikes, sound-alikes. And there was a phrase. So to break down that phrase into separate words, he tried different words. And then he chose to search for with different goods and services here and there, like constant, like the number of queries there was like in dozens for one trademark. And so he ran all that search, he got all those answers, and then he went through all those answers and tried to make a decision. Is this registrable or not? Is there something there that presents a big enough problem for us to say, you know what, this trademark, well, you shouldn't bother with. You're not going to get it. When I saw that recording, I had like my respect for the guy tripled or 10x, whatever, because I was blown away. The amount of details that go into that stuff. So, you know, when he does those searches, I, as the owner of Trademark Factory, as a founder and CEO, I feel very safe being able to say, if he is ready to give you the 100% money back guarantee, I'm ready to give you 100% money back guarantee, because I know that he just doesn't mess up.
That's amazing. Excellent. Well, I think we've covered almost everything we planned on covering. Obviously, before we go, we'll tell everybody how to get started with us. But is there anything, Jamie, that you want to convey that we haven't been able to talk about with regard to trademarks or Trademark Factory?
No, I think we've touched on all the main points. I would just
I disagree. I disagree. We didn't, because I think one of the things you didn't share, and I'd love you
Oh yeah, we got to talk about this. I know you're going.
Is that after being with us on the team for several months, you actually said, I have a brand that I'd like to trademark.
yeah,
Right.
that's true. Yeah.
And I'm like, sure, you can, but we're not going to give it to you for free just because you work here. Because like, if you believe in the value of what we do, there's no reason for you to not pay for this. So I'd like you to talk about that, because to me that's the the biggest testimonial that we're doing something right.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I started an apparel brand just on the side, and it started getting some traction. And I mean, I was working at a trademarking place, and I realized like this is crazy to not have this protected. I started, as it got more and more momentum, I had more anxiety. Like, what if I wake up tomorrow and someone already took a similar brand? So I was like, all right, it's time for us to trademark. And then just given my experience here, it was a no-brainer to do Trademark Factory, because I've seen behind the curtain, in front of the curtain, like it's the best option out there. I knew it was flat rate. The team does an incredible job of their research, and then the support if there's any questions that come up. So yeah, I immediately reached out to you, Andrei, and you're like, hell yeah, let's do it. So
Imagine how brutally we'd mock you if you did trademark and someone stole your brand with you working with Trademark
oh, I
Factory.
know.
Oh my God. So tell us,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you have a pending trademark, right?
Yes.
And have you received any office actions yet?
No, it's still a little early for that, but
Okay.
I got the 100% chance of success, and the
Got it.
registrability opinion from our team, so I felt confident moving forward. And it's just nice to put the TM next to our brand
Yeah.
now, and soon enough, a couple more months, it's going to be that R, and we'll be
Yeah.
sleeping peacefully at night.
Why don't you tell us what your brand is? Tell us.
No, don't do that.
Why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
no,
he's got the level of protection where it's okay.
He
Unless you
does.
don't want to go there, it's fine with me, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe a
Up to you,
future one.
Jamie.
I'll keep it under wraps now until it's get
okay,
that
fine.
final seal of approval.
All right, fine. Well, our trademark is Trademark Factory, and I think we also have guaranteed result for a guaranteed budget, right?
Yeah.
Registered trademark. So, why don't you, Andrei, share with everybody who's watching this what to do next if they want to take a step toward getting their brand protected.
Sure. You go to trademarkfactory.com, or any of the landing pages we might have for you in the description below, and there's a big button that says request a free call with one of our strategy advisors, and you're going to get on a call with Jamie or someone like Jamie, who will answer all your questions, who will help you figure out what you should be starting with first, and then second and third and whatever. So help you prioritize. That's why they're called strategy advisors, right? And just so you know, right, it's not that the only strategies buy from me right now, right? Their role on the call is to help you figure out how to get the most out of the trademarking process, so you can protect your brand the most with whatever budget you've got. Because look, I've done work for eight-figure companies, seven-figure companies, six-figure. Not once did I meet a client with an unlimited budget. Not once. I'm still waiting for that client, because with clients with unlimited budgets, there's unlimited number of trademarks we can do for them. But even the biggest guys out there, they still make those decisions. What's the priority here? And our strategy advisors are trained to help you figure out like what you want to do with what you got, and how we can get you there the easiest and with the least painful way. So request that call, get on that call with a strategy advisor. Worst case scenario, you're going to say, I hate this guy, but you're going to know so much more about trademarks and how to protect them, then it's going to be worth your while. And so I'm going to give you my word. You're not going to hate our strategy advisors because they're all great people and they actually give a damn about you and your brand.
Jamie, what should a business owner expect on that call? Like, is it an hour and a half, 10 minutes?
Oh, it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes. We can cover the bulk of what that process looks like and kind of narrow down the best strategy given the brand elements they're trying to protect. So I'd at least budget about 20 minutes, and we'll go in depth and hopefully get you protected soon.
Terrific. Well, if anybody has any other questions, you know how to find us, and we really appreciate everybody watching this video. And any parting words you want to leave, Andrei, before we wave goodbye?
Sure. If you are running a business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a business, and you, for whatever reason, came up with a brand for that business, there's a reason behind that, because you didn't choose to go unnamed. You spend some time, you spend some part of whatever is in you, part of your soul, you can call it, to come up with a name for the products or service for your company that you want people to know. And no matter what people around you may tell you, your brand is not worthless. The energy that you put in to put that in front of people, the courage that you had to put that in front of people, it's not worthless. So if you hope that your business will still be around 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, you gotta own that stuff. You gotta own that brand, and the only way to do it is to get that trademarked. And the only reasonable way, the only obvious choice for you to do it, if you're serious about your brand, is to do it through Trademark Factory. And we'll be happy to add you to our big growing family of clients who have used our services and who've given us those 5-star reviews.
Excellent. So with that, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. And you guys just want to wave goodbye, maybe give a little fist bump. There you go. All right, thanks. And we hope to hear from you all soon.